First off, I want to thank all the subscribers. Appreciate you guys for fucking with me. Much love. And today I want to talk about just different, situations and events on the streets that kind of like made me who I am. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of the foundation of me becoming me. And these aren't even like, I'm not even talking about major events. Really, these are more just things that I observed that I appreciated. You know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of fucked up things on the streets. A lot of fucked up things. And I talk about them a lot. And I know I'm fortunate that I never had to go to the joint and experience street life from that aspect. You know what I mean? But I was only on the streets and in YA. So I experienced it from those aspects, right? So that's where I got lucky because I escaped the other part. But yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about is I want to take it back to when I was about 12 years old, 6th grade. I'm chilling with the homie Sly and his cousin Ruben. Oh, my bad, we got something coming on the tracks. That's just loud as fuck. Hold on, here we go, trip on this. Got a truck on the train tracks. That's a trip. I'm gonna stay right here, so get rid of that noise. Yeah, but fucking so about the 6th grade, right? The 6th grade, chilling with Sly and his cousin Ruben, and we're breaking into shit. We were breaking into school buses. We broke into a school bus. Now all kinds of. We broke into one school bus, and fucking we thought we came up on cigarettes. We thought we came up on cartons of cigarettes, and they were just bandages and shit. We're just like, oh, what the fuck? So we got those, and we found like what looked like a large wooden pole kind of thing. Like it was crazy. Like I don't even know what the fuck it was for. It's kind of like a baseball bat that hadn't been carved. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. So fuck it, we were just tripping out. Like, what the fuck is this? So we started just being jackasses and just breaking everything. Breaking all kinds of fucking lights, like a motherfucking windows, lights, just all kinds of stupid shit, just doing dumb shit. And we ended up breaking this one, boom, and fucking the homies, like, they had a bad feeling, so they said, let's bounce, fool, let's bounce. I said, man, I ain't gonna run, fool, fuck these fools. So I'm thinking like fucking it's gonna be regular cats coming out, right? Like I ain't afraid of them. But fuck, it looked like homies came out and shit. I didn't even know these fools either. They came out and they were just fucking, they were strapped up. And they were like, what the fuck? Like, they were looking for us. The other homies ran. I'll tell you, they booked it. I should have booked it too. And they caught me because they ran up on me. What the fuck you doing, homie? This and that. I was like, oh shit. Like, I didn't expect these cats, you know what I mean? And yeah, they looked pissed. Like, they looked fucking heated. And I was like, fuck, like, I was around like 4 grown-ass men and shit. I'm only like fucking 12 years old. And I'm like, I'm about to get fucked up right now. And I thought I was by myself, right? But nah, fucking, the boys came through. They came back for me. My fucking Sly and Sly and Ruben came back. And I was just like, damn, like, that's tight as fuck, because that's what we were taught. Like, you never leave your boys behind, right? And they could have easily just said, man, fuck this fool. He decided to stay over there. That's on him. But nah, like the way it was in the streets is even if you didn't like what your homie did, you back him up no matter what. And you deal with that shit afterwards. You could be like, you know what, fucking, you really fucked that up, homie. And if you wanted to take it out on him, if you want to get down on him, you get down on him. But at first, you're going to back him up no matter what. And that's what they did, right? And that wasn't the last time like something like that happened. There were a gang of times where you'll feel like, fuck, man. There were even times where I knew a homie was in the wrong, or I knew like we shouldn't be at a particular place, and I stood behind it. A lot of times that works against you. There was even a time where we did a robbery with my homie Bobby and the homie Muppet, and something told me like, bounce, fool, bounce. We were trying to fucking slang a bike, and something told me like, bounce, like take off. And I was like, nah, I ain't leaving my boys behind. And like sure enough, 5 minutes later, the cops rolled up on us, snatched us up and shit. So yeah, you can like, that's one thing that I tripped out on the streets that I really admire, that you don't leave your boys behind, like no matter what. Like you stay at their side. Something that I trip out on that a lot of people don't do nowadays is fucking when this was a trip too, because my wife was talking about this, and because she said that somebody was in the room with somebody, they didn't know who they were, and like they didn't introduce themselves, and she's like, nah, fucking why would they introduce themselves, right? Like fucking you're gonna introduce yourself to the whole room? And that made me think, like, yeah, hell yeah, like fucking my bad, I keep flicking, there's mosquitoes and shit. So yeah, I remember, you know, it was a trip, because if you walk up and there's like 30 homies posted at the spot, and you and like say you and another homie come, right? There's two of you, you roll up to a spot with 30 homies. What you're gonna do is you're gonna shake everybody's hand right there, right? Your boys that you recognize, you're gonna give them a hug. What's up, G? Fuck yeah. Especially in my neighborhood, because you have boys from different sides. Sometimes you didn't see them for like a few weeks, you know what I mean? So like, let's say if I see a homie from 5 Points or Moore Park or whatever, I'm gonna hug him. What's up, G? How you been? Right? So fucking but like fucking for everybody else, like you just say there's homies you know, but you ain't really cool like that. Like you know them, you seen them around and shit, you met them before, you shake their hand, what's up, G? And then for whoever you don't know, you introduce yourself. So you be like, what's up, homie? Cricket, Florida. Boom, you shake his hand and shit, and then he introduces himself. And fucking, it was a trip, because there were some times where homies would want to test you out with that shit. Like they'd fucking squeeze your hand like too hard and shit, where you're gonna have to take flight on these fools. Like they're gonna just do something disrespectful. And there's other times where fucking maybe you had an issue with a homie and you bump into him right there, and after you shake everybody's hand, you walk up to him like, hey, let's take a walk, homie. You know what I mean? So fucking, it was a trip. But yeah, with that, like, no matter how many people are there, you had to shake everybody's hand, right? Shake everybody's hand and introduce yourself. You let that shit be known. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like even when you're in YA, you got to meet everybody. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like everybody who's on your cottage, you got to meet them. You got to know who's feeding them, who's not, and fucking meet everybody. So it was a trip, because on the streets we used to do that shit too. Just like, there's no way you're gonna go there and somebody be like, who's this? Like fucking, unless when you barely roll up, if there's like 3 cats there, that'll probably be the only time. If there's 3 homies and you roll up with somebody else, to be like, hey, who's this vato? And then you haven't had the chance to shake everybody's hand. But for the most part, if you roll up somewhere, when I was a kid, you would have to introduce yourself to everybody there. So that shit was a trip. Another thing that I remember that was real fucking cool was, if nobody had money and you only had enough, like let's say there's 3 homies on the street, right? And you guys have been out there on the street all fucking day, like all day, right? And you guys are hungry. Like for us, where I grew up at, we'd go to gyms or Old Timer and shit, or even E&J. We had 3 different like hamburger spots depending on what part of our side we were at. But we had those 3 spots, either Jim's Burgers, on Central and Garvey, on fucking E&J, which was on, it was right in back of Giovanni. It was on Garvey too. Or fucking Old Timer, which is also on Garvey and Seaman and shit. So like we would fucking, those would be the 3 spots, right? Where we'd be hungry. And we'd be up and down Garvey or patrolling the streets and shit in that area. Then fucking we'd be starving as fuck, right? And if we only had enough for a hamburger special, we split that shit 3 ways. Bam. Splitting that hamburger up in 3. And fuck it. If it's 2, it's even better. You just split that shit in half. You're good. But if it's 3 or 4, fuck it. You're splitting that shit into 3 or 4 pieces. Everybody's grabbing some fries, and you all take a drink of the soda, and you hit the streets again. Like, bam. So it was always like the thing that I loved about that shit is because this is what a lot of people don't understand. when you are on the streets, right? And you are looking for acceptance. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. You are looking for acceptance. You're looking to belong, right? And it's like when you're on that level, when you're on the street and YA level, more the streets really, because YA you're doing different cats. You do find a bit of that there, but then you also have cats from different areas that, not only shouldn't even say different area, like different neighborhoods that you don't fuck with, or not even neighborhoods, just different cats, right? Like you don't know these cats, you're not obligated to do anything for them, right? All you're obligated to do is jump for them. Other than that, like you don't have to chill with them or none of that shit. But when you're on the streets, it's a little different because these are your homies, right? These are your boys. And yeah, there's some homies you don't like. There's some homies that are like, man, fuck this fool. And you rather not be around them. But no matter what, that's your homeboy, right? You're going to look out for that fool no matter what. And that shit was a trip because I used to see a lot of that where homies would look out for each other and they would do well. So I got lucky, like I said, a lot of times because I never had to make it past YA in the streets. You know, I never had to go beyond that. And even then, my homies were always like backing my play. When I wanted to do well in life, they weren't like, Cricket's selling out or none of that shit. Like Cricket went soft, none of that shit. Like they all respected my call. They all respected that I wanted to raise a family, right? Nobody looked at me a certain way, or at least if they did, they didn't tell me and shit. But fucking it was all love. And so that was a trip though, because I know in regular society, if you walk into a room and there's like 30 people there, more than likely you're not going to introduce yourself to everybody. Because I've been in rooms now, like I've been in work events, and you'll introduce yourself to the people you're talking to, and that's it. Like you're not going to introduce yourself to everybody else. So I thought that was pretty unique, you know what I mean? I've been in places where motherfuckers, oh shit. Damn. I've been at places where motherfuckers like will eat in front of other cats, right? And I always thought that was weird. Like sometimes I've been at lunch with people, and I'll hit them up like, hey, you want half of this shit? And they'll be like, nah. Sometimes they'll take that shit. Sometimes there'll be cats that you work with, you don't even know their situation. They'll be broke as fuck. They're paying child support like a motherfucker and don't got, like, all their money's gone, you know what I mean? And I'll just break them off like, you want something, G? And they'll be like, yeah, I'll take half of that shit if you ain't gonna eat it. And fucking but it's a trip, you know what I mean? The streets were a trip. Like I said, they had some fucked up times, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of paranoia when you start doing other shit. When you get to like money and shit like that, right? But when you're a kid and you're out there with your boys, it's different. I don't know. It's hard to explain because there's a certain like camaraderie, brotherhood that you feel with these motherfuckers, right? And it's like you look back and you cherish that shit. And like I'm glad my kids don't have to go through it because, like I said, there's a lot of negativity that comes with it. But it's a experience that I'll always remember. You know what I mean? And I'll always have love for my boys, like always, because there was times where we'd be in some fucked up situations, and what do? We clown. That's another thing we did. We would clown like a lot of things that motherfuckers think are bullying tactics now or whatever. Like to us, we were just clowning each other, and fucking you could walk up anything wrong, right? If a cat's fat, you're gonna fucking clown him for being fat. If a cat's too skinny, you're gonna clown him for being too skinny. If somebody was with the ugly chick the night before, you're gonna clown that. If a homie had fucking the back of his pants like weren't like all solid and shit, and that fool had fucking like he stepped on him and shit, you're gonna clown that. Like anything you're gonna clown. If somebody did a fucking botched robbery or burglary, you're gonna bring that up. You're just gonna clown everybody, right? Somebody had crooked teeth, you're clowning that shit. And I know a lot of people now would be like, oh, that's bullying or shit like that, right? But back then that was just clowning. That's what we did. And like it couldn't be bullying because you clowned back. So fucking like I remember there was fucking two homies and shit. Cool as hell. There was a group called not a group, but some DJs called the Baker Boys, and they were they're on Power 106, and they called themselves the Two Fat Mexicans. And one time there was two homies. They were a little bit bigger and shit, and the homies like, oh, the Baker Boys, the Two Fat Mexicans. And we were clowning, and they just came back like, man, shut the fuck up, horse teeth, and like fucking just clowning fools and shit, right? And you just go like back and forth, and you're clowning, but ain't nobody feel. Yeah, there were some times where some homies maybe took it a little too far and they had to throw hands and shit, but it never got to a point where you would just bully somebody and you would just constantly talk shit to somebody who wasn't gonna talk shit back. Like, you did that shit because you just fucking clowned and shit. So yeah, the streets were different, you know what I mean? Like, it was a different time, different values, different perspective. And like I said, I look back fondly on some of those times. Even though I'm glad that I'm living an entirely different life now, I'm glad that things are way different than what they were. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to experience those times. And with that, I'm out. Peace.